The 2025 MLB Trade Deadline once again lived up to its reputation for drama, with 24 deals completed between the 4 p.m. ET freeze and the 6 p.m. deadline, 14 of them in the final half hour. Some teams went all in for October glory, others cut bait in a full rebuild, and a handful stood pat, betting on what they already have. Here's a closer look at the biggest winners and losers coming out of one of baseball's wildest two-day stretches. Winners: Houston Astros, Carlos Correa's homecoming. The Astros reacquired their former standout shortstop, now third baseman, Carlos Correa from the Minnesota Twins, eating $33 million of his remaining $102 million salary to secure a 2-month rental of a franchise icon. Correa won Rookie of the Year in Houston, was a key piece of multiple pennant runs, and remains immensely popular in the clubhouse. Immediate impact: Correa slides over to third base to replace the injured Isaac Paredes, giving Houston a veteran bat and Gold Glove caliber defender at a thin corner spot. Long-term value: at age 29, with a track record of postseason success, Correa brings leadership to a locker room focused squarely on a World Series repeat. Price paid: prospect return was light, pitching prospect Matt Mikulski, but swallowing $33 million is a high-stakes commitment for a contender. San Diego Padres, Mason Miller, and bullpen bolstering. The Padres surrendered top pitching prospect Leo DeVries plus 3 lower-level arms to the Oakland A's in exchange for flamethrower closer Mason Miller and swingman J.P. Sears. Game changer: Miller leads baseball with a mid-100s fastball and has locked down high-leverage innings for a bad A's team. In San Diego's star-studded pen, he slots behind Josh Hader and Josh Taylor as the flamethrower at the back end. Team control: 4 arbitration years plus an extra club option means Miller figures to anchor SD's late-inning mix through at least 2028. Cost versus reward: giving up the number 3 overall prospect in DeVries is steep, but on a contender, one dominant reliever can swing a series, making this a quintessential all-or-nothing deadline move. Seattle Mariners: a new corner infield. With the AL West crown within striking distance, Seattle traded a package of mid-level prospects to acquire third baseman Eugenio Suarez from Arizona and first baseman Josh Naylor from Arizona. Immediate upgrade: Suarez 36 HR, .251 AVG, and Naylor .292 3/6 slide into 2 of MLB's thinnest defensive corners, providing both pop and on-base skills that Seattle lacked. Lineup balance: the additions give Jared Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez, and George Kirby a more formidable supporting cast, converting a high-variance offense into a more well-rounded attack. Prospect cost: the haul, primarily pitchers Brian Wu, Robbie Brazil, and others, hurts future depth but underscores Dipoto's win-now mindset, a risk worth taking for a franchise chasing its first pennant since 2001. Losers: Minnesota Twins. Payroll cutter, not contender. The Twins, sellers at their own deadline, traded away a third of their roster, including veterans Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, and Chris Paddock, in exchange for nearly 24 prospects. Signal of rebuild: Minnesota is clearly demoted from contender to retool mode, likely ceding the AL Central crown and playoff spot. Fan base fallout: after a surprise 90-win season in 2024, fans hoping for back-to-back postseason berths got little return. The best Twins player remaining at the deadline was rookie Royce Lewis. Long road ahead: the haul of low A and high A arms plus bats will need years to develop. Meanwhile, a thin rotation and weak lineup will struggle in 2026 and beyond. Los Angeles Dodgers, standing pat and paying the price. The Dodgers, mired in a tight NL wildcard race, made 0 additions at the deadline despite obvious roster holes in pitching and catching. Missed opportunity: with Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, and Blake Snell all on the IL, LA limped into the final month with a patchwork rotation. Fan and front office discontent: Dodgers president Andrew Friedman's "trust the process" mantra rang hollow as key rivals, Padres, Astros, Rangers, loaded up while LA did nothing. Long-term risk: sitting idle may cost home field advantage in the playoffs, and given the Dodgers' arms race payroll, the optics of inaction sting almost as much as the losses on the field. Miami Marlins holding on to Sandy Alcantara. Miami floated starter Sandy Alcantara in trade talks for months, but ultimately kept him, despite being 12 games back in the wildcard race. Rental risk: Alcantara is a pending free agent who could walk in November, netting no return if he departs. Blown leverage. Sources suggest Miami could have received multiple high-level prospects for Alcantara at his peak, but balked at any deal below astronomical. Franchise costs. Keeping him preserves one of baseball's best arms for 2025, but fails to replenish a scarce farm system, a short-sighted choice for a small-market club. Honorable mentions. Chicago Cubs added veteran 1B Brian Hubbard to shore up a playoff push, costing 2 lower-level prospects. A low-risk, high-reward swing if Hubbard's glove and bat revive. Texas Rangers dealt lefty Jose Leclerc to the White Sox for prospects, banking on a health bounce back but weakening their own bullpen against an Astros juggernaut. St. Louis Cardinals paired reliever Michael Wacha with 2 prospects to acquire young OF Patrick Laurencio from Colorado, a savvy move for a team rebuilding its outfield depth. In baseball's relentless chase for October glory, this deadline gave us classic high-stakes drama. Contenders donning new uniforms and rebuilders tearing down the house, all setting the stage for a thrilling final quarter. Say will ultimately emerge victorious. October's spotlight will have the final say. The 2025 trade deadline was nothing short of mayhem. In San Diego, the A's threw in the towel on Mason Miller, sending their flamethrower closer and a future rotation arm to the Padres in exchange for a quartet of prospects led by Leo DeVries. Overnight, Miller went from pitching in front of cardboard cutouts at AAA Sacramento to locking down saves in Petco Park's cavernous crackerjack corners. For San Diego, it's a small price to pay for a multi-year bullpen ace. For Oakland, it stings as yet another top arm walks away. Meanwhile, the Mariners quietly ripped open their wallet and their prospect cupboard to reinvent their corner infield combo. Josh Naylor brings left-handed thump, and veteran Eugenio Suarez, fresh off a tear in Arizona, slides back into Seattle's heart of the order. Together, they turn a middle lineup that could barely muster doubles into one that now carries real pop. Jerry Dipoto's Splash City makeover suddenly feels like it's firing on all cylinders. Over in Minnesota, the Twins went into full teardown mode, shipping Nolan Arenado out west and cutting bait on a third of their roster, including landing Carlos Correa back in Houston. Correa's belated Astros homecoming is a throwback fairy tale. The man they drafted, the kid who became a star, finally coming back to a clubhouse that cheers his name. His bat may have cooled, but his veteran presence immediately boosts Houston's playoff polish. And then there's the Dodgers, who watched from the dugout as whispers of Clayton Kershaw to the bullpen went nowhere. And Clayton Kershaw jokes went nowhere. They opted for radio silence, keeping pitchers prized and prospects sacred, betting that internal fixes and their existing arms would hold serve rather than mortgaging their future. When the dust settled, the clear winners were those who traded from strength. San Diego's A1 bullpen upgrade, Seattle's lineup reboot, Houston's sentimental splash for Correa, while the Twins tumbled decisively into rebuild mode. And the Dodgers? They stayed quiet, choosing to let the roster they already have do the talking.